So can you talk a little bit about pricing? Obviously we have issues with tariffs on again, off
Yes.
again. But when you're pricing things out, I owned a restaurant in the past, and so obviously with that we had food costs, and even then, I remember back in the day, if there was terrible rains or something in California, sometimes the produce didn't come in the way it should. But how do you work your pricing from the cost of goods, or how do you do your pricing for your goods?
Well, that's been the biggest challenge. We've known what our pricing has been for so long, right? So it was easy for us to price out our products. But now with this big shift with the tariff, and it's literally every single country that we buy fabric from has now increased. And it's so hard now because we want to raise pricing and we've actually had to discount pricing. So, in that aspect, it really is hurting designers as a brand. But that's just where we are right now. That's why, usually, with this kind of economy, it's good to do like a higher price point. That's why we're doing our luxury line because we find that that's going to win the race. You know what I mean? Like, luxury is definitely something that is sustainable during this kind of tough time in this economy. But from the pricing standpoint, you do have a lot to consider because you have the fabric, the trimming, the manufacturing piece, and then you also have to think of your marketing. I think that's the biggest problem designers forget, to add that extra piece to pay your marketing team. And I think that's a big deal. And that's the hardest part, right? Is the marketing, I think, of the brand. So I always tell designers, like, make sure you add that cost in there when you're putting together your price sheet.
No, no, it's true. We talk about cost plus, right? So you take the cost of goods, cost of marketing, but then the issue is if cost plus is more expensive than people are willing to pay, then you have a
Yes,
real issue with that.
I'm going to be honest, that's why you see so many designers not taking a bow, but kind of walking away right now because I get it. I'm in the same boat as everyone else right now. That's why I'm really pushing my luxury line. It's a tough market right now because consumers are really tapped with their budgets.